My little old John Deere tractor took a dump on me. I had the bucket over this cab trying to pull it off this trailer, and she stalled out. So I knocked her in neutral and rolled her back out of the way. But now I got to troubleshoot why she took a dump, so figured I'd bring you along with and see if we can figure it out. This is the injection pump. This wire, it turns the flow of fuel into the pump. It's a little solenoid inside there. So the first thing I want to do is make sure I got voltage to that terminal. I have to turn the key on. Got my ground hooked up already. I'm showing 12.22 volts. So it works. Now I can put my hand on here and turn it on and off. I should be able to feel that solenoid click. I just put about 4 gallons in it. It's out of my old diesel tank, so hopefully it wasn't crappy fuel. The fuel comes from the tank to the transfer pump. The transfer pump works off the cam of the engine, and it pumps fuel through the filter, back behind the engine, and to the fuel pump. Now my filter, it's a glass filter, and it really does look quite shitty. So perhaps I should pop that filter off and drain it. This filter comes off really easy, by the way. You just push this clip in, you'll pull up on the tab, and it just comes right off. Latches in the back there. The filter just pops off. And the fuel just comes in through these little O-rings. Through these little ports. Now I'm going to go dump this fuel into a clean container and see what we've got. Oh, look at that, it's water. That's water. Oh my gosh. Pump the hand lever on this little pump. Now what I need to do is my hand lever doesn't got much resistance because it's not on the right spot on the cam. So I'm going to just bump the engine and see if that makes it any better. Not yet. Oh yeah, lots of stroke, see it? And that's just water. That sucks. That's okay. I believe this tank draws directly out the bottom. I'm just going to keep pumping this until I get purple coming out. Now my water is starting to get a pink look to it. I'll keep on pumping it. Okay, I'm pumping my primer and letting it pump into this bucket. I'm looking for what I call frog eggs. It's the water. I'll show you that line right there. That's a lot of water right there. So it's not clear enough yet. The water's going to be on the bottom, and it's usually on separate little droplets. That's why I call it like frog eggs in a pond. Or if it's a lot, it'll be like that big stream of it. All right, I purchased a new filter. And believe it or not, my filter base is clean where the O-rings are going to go. This glass filter is pretty much just John Deere. There's all sorts of fuel filters, all sorts of sizes. Most applications have got multiple filters, but something I want to let you be aware of is that this is a transfer pump, also known as a lift pump. On some applications, this pump has a built-in screen, and this particular one does not. But just be aware, like the old Massey Ferguson tractors, usually there's a screw right in the top. You pull that screw out and pull the top off, and it's a screen. Inspect your fuel lines from your tank to your engine. Some of the Cummins applications had a little inline screen, just a little inline filter tucked up in the frame somewhere. And if you don't know it's there, it can be a real pain in the butt. On some of the foreign applications that I mess with, there's what they call a banjo bolt. in these particular cases had a built-in screen. So they could put a filter anywhere, and usually they put a filter before the transfer pump to keep bigger pieces of garbage from getting caught up in the valves of your transfer pump. Because your transfer pump also, when your system's primed and you shut the machine off, the check valves in the transfer pump keeps the system from draining back into the tank. And then you'll have to bleed it again to get it to run. So it's very important that the fuel going into the transfer pump is clean. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my glass filter back on. I'm going to undo my lines that go to the injectors themselves. And I'm going to crank it over until I get diesel coming out them lines, because I know I'm going to get a lot of gas for a while. A lot of water for a while. So I'll put the filter on and open up them lines and crank it until I got good diesel. Then I should be able to put it together and hopefully she'll start. You got to bleed it. There's a bolt right back up here on the housing, 9/16. Crack it open. Then you crank the primer. Good clean diesel going into here. I'm watching for fuel to start spurting out of that loose bolt as I pump the primer. It's just air bubbles escaping now. Let's watch for that fuel. You could just crank it with the starter, but you're asking your starter to do a lot of work. There she goes. Close it. Take my wrench and tightener. Back that nut off a couple turns when you break it open. I'm gonna find a wrench and I'm gonna open this line that comes from the filter to the pump. I'm gonna open that line. I'm gonna pump it some more to pump the water out of that line. I'm trying to hand pump water out of the system as far as I can go to keep my starter from having to work so hard. All right, I put a catch pan underneath the tractor and I pumped it till I got clean fuel. Let's crank it. Let the starter rest for a couple minutes. And I'm also going to hook the cables up and start my truck up. So I may not film this part, but I'm going to keep pumping till that little white bubbly stuff is water, till I get that nice purple off-road diesel look. Then I'll close them, then I'll crank it and hopefully start it. Alrighty, she's running. Keep in mind there's all types of fuel filters on diesel engines. There's usually a primary and a secondary filter. There could be a screen between the tank and the transfer pump. I don't know, but there possibly could be a screen in the tank with some of this more modern stuff. Diesel engine will not run with air in the system. Air compresses, fuel does not. It needs that air out of there so it can force that fuel past the little poppet valves inside the injectors. If you got a standpipe in your tank, most tanks do, and I hope this one doesn't. Somewhere along the line, in all their wisdom, they feel it's best to trap the water in the tank and not have it go through the system. But I'd rather that water go into the fuel filter and get changed with preventive maintenance or periodic maintenance than to build up into a fuel tank to where all of a sudden you've got water sloshing around and getting sucked up into the fuel system. So I'm a big advocate of no water in the tank. Also because algae grows in water that is in diesel. And I've cleaned some pretty gunky tanks out where algae's grown in the bottom and just stopped everything up. So algae's not grown in the diesel, it's grown in the water that's in the bottom of the diesel tank. So it's another good reason not to allow water to accumulate in the bottom of the tank. I hope this video helps you. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you love life and learning new things, go aimless.com.